On this planet, there are desolate lands where only a few people live amidst freezing nature, and cities where every square meter is packed with human presence. In this video, we'll travel through the world's most extreme population contrasts and ask the question, are humans pushing the limits of how and where we can live? Join Eagle Discovery to uncover the unimaginable realities happening right here on Earth that you may have never heard of before. Nations without permanent residence. On the world map, there are still vast regions where humans inhabit only a tiny portion. Iceland is a prime example of the blend between modern life and the wilderness. With under 400,000 residents living on more than 100,000 square kilometers of land, each person could theoretically enjoy the space of nearly 3 football fields. Outside of the capital Reykjavik and a few coastal towns like Akureyri, most of the country is highland plateaus, ancient glaciers, and vast volcanic zones. Still, Iceland isn't isolated. Its healthcare, education, and transportation systems operate effectively, especially with such a small population. But drive just a few dozen kilometers from any city, and you'll enter another world, where hot springs steam in the cold and the aurora paints majestic streaks across the sky. Iceland is a paradise for trekking, snow driving, and ice cave exploration, but not for those who crave a bustling lifestyle. Here, nature is the dominant force. A similar story unfolds in Canada, the world's second-largest country, yet home to only around 4 people per square kilometer. Nearly 90% of Canadians live near the U.S. border, while the rest of the country is millions of square kilometers of forest, lakes, and frozen wilderness. Areas like Yukon, Nunavut, and the Northwest Territories host just a few thousand scattered residents, where roads are rare and small planes or boats are essential, especially during summer when the ice melts. Winter temperatures can drop to minus 50 degrees Celsius, making this one of the harshest inhabited regions on Earth. Likewise, Australia features 2 contrasting worlds. On one side are vibrant cities like Sydney and Melbourne, where almost 90% of the population resides. On the other is the outback, an expansive interior of dry lands and deserts, where time seems to stand still. With an average density of only 3 people km², vast regions spanning hundreds of kilometers are completely uninhabited. Indigenous communities continue traditional lifestyles in deserts like Simpson and Great Victoria, where heat and isolation are the norm. Traveling between small towns often requires hours of driving across the desert. Education and healthcare are uniquely adapted. Children learn remotely via radio or internet, and doctors fly in using the flying doctor service. In Australia, living far from everything isn't a rarity. It's part of the national identity. And if you think you've seen isolation at its peak, the next places will make you reconsider. In today's modern world, where cities and comfort occupy nearly every space, there are still corners of the globe where people live in extreme isolation and nature's harshness. Tristan da Cunha is a rare case. Located in the South Atlantic Ocean, more than 2,400 kilometers from the nearest mainland, this tiny island is part of the UK, yet has no airport and no major port. It can only be reached by ship from South Africa, a journey that takes over a week. All its residents, fewer than 250, live in a village called Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, a name straight out of a novel. There are no restaurants, hotels, or malls, just a self-sufficient life. Fishing for lobster, farming, and relying on supply ships from afar. The wet and windy weather makes it unsuitable for mass tourism, yet it draws in those who are passionate about extreme geography and exploration. Moving toward Asia and Europe, Mongolia unfolds as a vast and nearly empty space, with an area 5 times the size of Vietnam, but just over 3 million people, nearly half living in the capital Ulaanbaatar. The rest is endless steppes, deserts, and nomadic tribes living with their herds, without fences or borders. The average density is just 2 people km², but in the Gobi Desert, you could travel for hours without seeing anyone. The climate here is brutal. Summers can hit 45 degrees Celsius, and winters dip below minus 40 degrees Celsius. Still, Gobi is a treasure trove for paleontologists, with many important dinosaur fossils discovered here, continuing to attract global research teams. Farther north, Greenland exemplifies the very limit of human survival. As the world's largest island, mostly covered in ice, it belongs to Denmark, yet lies thousands of kilometers from Europe. Around 56,000 people live here, mainly Inuit communities along the western and southern coasts. Life conditions are extreme. Winters are long, temperatures often below -20 degrees Celsius, and transportation relies on boats, helicopters, or sleds. Climate change is reshaping everything. Melting ice opens new sea routes, but disrupts the traditional rhythms of native life communities that have coexisted with ice for centuries. Greenland isn't for the masses. It's for those brave enough to face pristine nature and an uncertain, changing future. The world isn't just wilderness. It's also home to place quietly transforming, on the edge between silence and modernity. Hey you, where are you watching from? I'd love to know which city you're in. Leave us a comment so we don't feel alone out here. Just a small gesture, but it means the world to us and keeps us motivated to make more videos. Thank you, and we love you. And between the two South American giants, Brazil and Argentina, Uruguay emerges as a small but strikingly unique nation. Its population density is only about 19 people per square kilometer, a rare figure globally. Most residents live in the capital, Montevideo, and a few coastal cities, while the rest of the land is vast plains and untouched beaches, where travelers can drive for hours without seeing a soul. Life here is calm and gentle, just like the mild climate and open landscapes. However, behind this tranquility lies a forward-thinking society. Uruguay was the first country in South America to legalize marijuana, recognize same-sex marriage, and it boasts one of the region's best healthcare and education systems. This is a place where reforms happen quietly but effectively. Leaving South America for Asia, we encounter a different situation. Japan, a high-tech country filled with mega-cities, is facing a wave of rural abandonment. Outside of Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya, regions like Nagano, Tottori, and Shikoku are seeing fewer and fewer young people. Many villages have turned into ghost towns due to an aging population. To address this, the Japanese government is offering policies such as free houses, financial support, and tax incentives to attract youth back to the countryside. This mix of advanced technology and nature-based living has created a unique development model, life among rice fields and mountains, yet with fast internet and quality healthcare. From Asia back to Europe, France offers a perfect blend of modern cities and charming rural life. Paris is a cultural and economic hub, but just a few hours away, you'll find regions like Dordogne, Auvergne, and the Jura Mountains, where time seems to pause. Ancient stone towns, cobblestone streets, traditional markets, and age-old cuisine make it feel like stepping into a vintage novel. France's average population density is 120 people per square kilometer, but in these areas, it can be under 30, offering peaceful and poetic surroundings. Despite having modern internet, transportation, and medical care, the pace of life here remains slow and full of human warmth. But when urbanization doesn't just begin but expands to the point of no space left, we enter a world where people are everywhere. As living space becomes increasingly limited, we begin to enter areas where population density becomes unmistakably high. In these countries, urban development is intense, yet some balance between growth and nature still exists. A prime example is China, with an average population density of about 153 people per square kilometer. However, the population distribution is extremely uneven. While megacities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou are always crowded and buzzing with tens of millions of residents, vast regions such as Tibet and Inner Mongolia are nearly uninhabited. This internal contrast creates a complex picture. On one side are ultra-modern urban centers, and on the other, near-pristine wilderness. Germany presents a different tone. With a density of around 233 people per square kilometer, the population is more evenly spread, especially between major cities and rural areas. Berlin, Hamburg, and Munich are dynamic modern urban centers, but just a bit outside, you'll easily encounter dense forests, meadows, and quaint old villages. The Black Forest, a renowned ecotourism destination, is where nature still dominates, and the residents' slow-paced lifestyle stands out amidst industrialized Europe. In the United Kingdom, the population picture shares many similarities. With a density of about 277 people per square kilometer, it ranks among the more densely populated nations, especially in London, one of the busiest and most crowded cities in Europe. Yet, if you head to areas like the Cotswolds or the Scottish countryside, you'll find that development hasn't erased the calm charm of rural villages and vast green fields. Nature here is well preserved, creating a rare balance between city life and open space. Go even further. and population density surges dramatically as we reach India, with an average of around 420 people per square kilometer. Unlike China, India's population is more evenly spread across its territory. From megacities like Mumbai, New Delhi, and Kolkata, among the world's most populous to rural regions, the density remains high, though urbanization levels vary. This gives the impression that there's no place truly empty, as every bit of space seems to be shared and utilized. The boundary between urban development and rural existence is no longer distinct. They are merging, turning the entire country into a colossal metropolis in the shape of a nation. Up next are the places where cities are not just crowded, but almost completely out of breathing room. The most densely populated countries on the planet. And as we move deeper into areas of extreme population density, living space becomes compressed to the point of suffocation. Here, the majority of people live in tightly packed urban areas, where buildings, roads, and human lives crowd together in limited space. Bangladesh is a prime example, with an average density of around 1,265 people per square kilometer, one of the highest in the world. Despite its small land area, the country's population exceeds 170 million, leading to severe issues in infrastructure, environment, and daily living. Dhaka, the capital, reflects this clearly. Roads are constantly jammed, markets are never empty, and privacy becomes a luxury. Life moves at a relentless pace, and every aspect of living must adapt to the tight conditions. A similar situation is found in South Korea, with a population density of around 1,300 people per square kilometer. However, South Korea is far better prepared and organized. Seoul, its modern capital, is a vibrant economic and cultural center, filled with skyscrapers, complex subway systems, and one of the most advanced urban infrastructures in the world. Though space is limited, the government has heavily invested in smart planning, green technology, and public spaces such as elevated parks, artificial hills, and eco-zones within the city. This allows residents to escape the urban stress without having to travel far. Finally, there's Singapore, a special case in the modern world, a small island nation with limited land, yet its population density surpasses 7,000 people per square kilometer, the highest among sovereign states. Remarkably, Singapore is not seen as suffocating or cramped. On the contrary, it's considered a global model for high-density urban planning. The government has successfully blended modern architecture with nature through initiatives like vertical gardens, green rooftops, indoor forests, and an extremely efficient public transport network. As a result, even with density so high it seems there's no room left to breathe, Singapore's quality of life remains excellent, proving that crowded doesn't always mean unlivable. And if you think you've reached the limit of density, think again. There are still places where every square meter must be fought for to live. When urban development hits its absolute ceiling, we enter a reality where every square meter of land is maximized for survival. The concept of empty space disappears, and urban infrastructure must operate at full capacity to serve hundreds of thousands, even millions, in cramped areas. One standout case is Macau, a small coastal territory in southern China, with a population density exceeding 20,000 people per square kilometer. Despite its modest size, Macau is Asia's leading entertainment and casino hub. Skyscrapers and luxury hotels rise side by side in a tightly packed network. With no spare land available, Macau has reclaimed land from the sea and built artificial islands to expand its development space. Here, land isn't given, it's created. In Mumbai, India, one of the most populous cities on Earth, the citywide density averages around 25,000 people per square kilometer, but in neighborhoods like Dharavi, it can surpass 100,000 people per square kilometer. Narrow alleyways lead into a maze of makeshift housing, where hundreds of thousands live, work, and survive. Despite poverty, Dharavi is home to workshops, tailors, small markets, and classrooms. Life is incredibly tight, yet it functions with remarkable resilience. A similar scene plays out in Manila, the capital of the Philippines, with an average density exceeding 40,000 people per square kilometer. Rapid urbanization and lagging infrastructure have turned the city into a human sea in constant motion. Roads are clogged, buildings packed, and public services overwhelmed. Some people even build homes on rivers or on top of graves, simply because there's no space left. Hong Kong represents the peak of vertical urbanization in places like Mongkok, where population density can reach nearly 130,000 people per square kilometer. Tall buildings stand shoulder to shoulder, neon signs blanket the streets, and the crowds never stop moving. Privacy has all but vanished. People live in matchbox-sized flats, relying on technology and infrastructure. Yet, thanks to efficient organization and strong community awareness, Hong Kong still maintains a modern and stable rhythm of life. And then, when looking into the ultimate edge of population density, where every square centimeter is utilized, one cannot ignore the walled city of Kowloon. Before being demolished in 1993, it symbolized urban overpopulation beyond all conventional limits. In just 2.6 hectares, over 30,000 people once lived, equating to more than 1.2 million per square kilometer. High-rise buildings stacked haphazardly without planning formed a closed labyrinth with no natural light and barely any airflow. Inside, a self-made world thrived with homes, shops, clinics, and small factories, all functioning within a nearly independent ecosystem, detached from official governance. Kowloon was the ultimate example of adaptation, a place where people endured in conditions modern architecture once deemed uninhabitable. Though Kowloon now lives only in memory, many places around the world are rapidly approaching similar extremes. Dharavi in Mumbai, Tondo in Manila, or the overcrowded neighborhoods of Lagos, Nigeria, and Jakarta, Indonesia, are all expanding at uncontrollable rates. Rapid population growth, mass migration, and lack of planning are pushing these megacities towards severe overload. In the coming decades, the population boom, combined with environmental stress and climate change, could push living conditions in many places to their final limit, where each person must fight for every bit of space just to survive. The solution: how can we live in harmony in a world of population imbalance? When some parts of the world are nearly uninhabited, while others are packed to the point of suffocation, the real question isn't, is there still room for humanity on Earth? But rather, how are we using the space we already have? To address this imbalance, the first thing that needs to change is how we think about urban development and population distribution. Instead of over-concentrating in large metropolitan areas, governments should invest in infrastructure, services, and job opportunities in rural and remote regions, places that still hold vast, untapped potential. Modern technology will play a key role: smart housing, renewable energy, satellite internet, and autonomous transportation, all of which can help people thrive in locations once thought uninhabitable. At the same time, concepts like eco-cities and distributed societies are proving that living far from urban centers doesn't mean falling behind. On the other hand, in megacities, we need to push for vertical urban planning combined with green spaces, public transportation, and smart city technologies to ease infrastructure pressure. Ultimately, high population density isn't the real issue, as long as we know how to share, organize, and respect our shared spaces. Earth has room for everyone, but a sustainable future will only come when we learn how to live together in harmony. If you found this video interesting and want to keep exploring strange and wonderful corners of the world, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next adventure.